Hello, this lesson is for students in the Introduction to Python class who might be having some trouble with some of the lessons and understanding how to get through them and what's going on. This is the grade calculator lesson, which I believe is lesson 4 or 5 in the progress on Codesters. So as you can see, I've started at the beginning, cleared my progress so that we can go through this together. You can see here in the beginning, it tells you here it is what you're going to be working on. You're going to be creating and working with lists. So you're going to create a list to store values, determine the index of an element in the list, use insert to place an item at a specific index, count the number of items in a list using the len command. You're going to retrieve a value from a list based on its index, delete a specific range of indexes from a list, use string formatting to insert variables in a string, and finally print information to the console as output. All of these things are going to be accomplished during the course of this lesson. So for the purpose of this video, I'll be doing kind of 10-minute chunks and trying to get as far through the lesson as I can to help you understand how to go through and figure this lesson out. So let's go ahead and get started here. You can see the instructions. We're going to imagine you're almost done with the school year and you want to know your grade average. So you're going to be using the console, which is a programming environment that takes text as input and only outputs text. Console is particularly useful because it will let us easily display text information. So remember, as you're going through this lesson, the console is over here in the canvas where it's showing the final result of the program, and the code editor is over here kind of in the middle. This area over here is your toolkit or your toolbox that you're familiar with hopefully by now. So we'll be using, so we're going to click on Run to see the example of the project. This is what it's going to be doing and what's going to happen by the end of the program. You can scroll up in the console to see the beginning of the output. And then you notice how the grades and average change. So we can kind of look at this and compare it with the code that is going to be run. So here in the main, you can see the first thing it does is print initial grades, and then it shows you those grades, which are right there. So then it has a function called print grades, and it shows individually each of the grades that you're going to have. So 81, 84, 78, and so on. Then it sorts the grades, and so then you can see that instead of in some random order, it goes lowest to highest, so 70 up to 100. Next, after you print the grades, it's going to print your average. So this is the average of all 9 of these grades. You may think, well, Twining, it says 8. Why are you saying 9? Well, it's counting 0 as the first one. So you add them all up, and you have 9 different entries there. So then what it does is it removes 2 of those. So we're going to remove the lowest 2. So the 70 and the 78 are no longer there. And then it prints the new average, which is 88. So when we remove the 2, we then print the grades and we print the average, which then shows up here. But then it changes a 83 to a 95. And shows you the new average, which is your 90%. And then it's going to sort them again because the 95 is now in there instead of the 83. And it then shows you the results there. Next, it's going to insert in a 97 into the list. So after 95, you end up with the 97. And so then finally, it has your final grades. It then shows you the final grades and shows you that final average. Right here. It also is going to show you the highest grade, which is your 100. So it gets the variable highest grade, and then it prints out where it says highest grade, and it shows you that number. And then it's done. And so we're going to go through and complete all of those things as part of the lesson today. So we hit submit, and we go on to the next one. And we start from the beginning. We provided a main function. In the main function are your grades so far. So let's print these to the console. In logic, go to console. And you're going to drag print string inside of the main function. So remember, inside of the main function means it's after the function is defined with the colon, and then it needs to be tabbed over just like the grades are here. So instead of print hello world, we're going to instead say initial grades. And then we put a colon at the end there. And I guess if you really want to make sure it matches lowercase g. So then we're going to print a variable here. But when I dragged it over, notice the tab is no longer inside of my main. So I need to make sure that it is inside of the main. And instead of my var, we're going to print grades. And so then when I hit run, it's going to show me here are my initial grades, and here they all are, which is basically just repeating this and making it printed output there. You can toggle on and off the console with this P thing. So you can see here my canvas is blank. Nothing's really happening. It's because it's all inside of the console. But I can still see the great job. So I go ahead and I hit submit. And then I move on to the next activity. So, nice. We can see the grades in the console. Now let's create a function to print each grade at a time. So we're going to go into functions, which is here in the logic command. And we want a function with parameter. We're going to put it under the helper functions here. So, instead of the my function, we're going to change the name of it to be print grades. So we type print underscore grades, and then instead of my var, which is our parameter that we're passing into that function, we're going to say list of grades. And then we want to put in a docstring so that we know what's going on in this function. So in docstring, we drag it on over, and instead of this is a description of what the function does, we're going to change it to say print grades to console. Oh, to the console. And so now we actually want to call this function, and so have it actually do something. So we're going to, under function calls, we're going to do function call with parameter after print grades. Once again, we need to make sure we tab it on over, and I'm going to put an enter just so that we know we're on the next activity as we're going through this. And instead of print grades, we're going to change it to print. Or instead of my function, change it to print grades. And instead of the my var, we are sending it our list of grades, which is grades. And so that's really all we have to do. And it doesn't look like we've done anything because there's nothing in the function yet that's happening. But we got the great job. So we go ahead and we hit submit. And then we go on to the next activity. So in this lesson, you'll use the toolkit tools with the code that includes a pass statement. So what is a pass? Pass is a Python command that literally does nothing. It is often used as a placeholder to prevent an error. So we're going to follow along with the demo over here to see how pass helps prevent an error and when can we remove pass. So find the pass indented in the for loop and delete it. Make sure the other code stays indented. So we're going to click run to see the program work, and then click submit and next when you're ready to move on. So go ahead and hit run. Let's see why using pass is helpful. Hit continue. Look at the above code. Click on the highlighted part to learn more. So I click here. This line declares a for loop that will run 5 times. Click on the highlighted part to learn more. There is no code indented inside the loop yet. Let's see what happens. So when we hit run, button on the stage here, click continue to see the code run line by line. It sets up the background, and then sets up our sprite, and then nothing happens. We get a bad input on line 7. Bad input on line 7. What's that about? And why does it say line 7? A bad input error is caused by missing or unexpected code. This can make the program unsure of where the error is. We got this bad input because the loop is empty. So when we click OK, All loops, conditionals, and functions require at least one line of code. But what if I don't know which code to add yet? This is where pass comes in handy. Pass acts as a placeholder code. It is code, but it does nothing. So when we click on the highlighted, it adds the pass. So let's see what it does. Click on the run, and then we're going to click continue to see it run line by line. Sets up the background, sets up our sprite, and then it goes through the loop 5 times. And you can see it going through and doing the pass and then coming back. We have no error. We have code in the loop now, so there is no error. This is a common use for pass. As soon as we add more code to the loop, we can remove the pass. So look at the code in the code editor, which is over here. Remove the pass and then run the program again. So when we get rid of this pass here, and then we hit run, we then have our UFO that's set up, and it goes through and turns right 5 times, turning all the way around in a circle, and we're done with our demo of pass. So hopefully that helps explain the fact that pass is included because you have to have code, but it doesn't do anything. So this video has gotten to about 10 minutes long, so I'm going to end this video and then continue this lesson in the next section.